And we are live. The SMT Podcast. The date is May 8th, 2020. Thank you all for tuning in to watch this edition of the podcast. The Sneed Mobile Tech Podcast is brought to you by the fine members of the SMT Patreon page and the supporters and donations of viewers and subscribers like you. If you would like to be a part of that community, become a patron and join the SMT Patreon page. There is a link in the description box for that. There are 3 tiers for the SMT Patreon page, $1, $2, and $3 tiers. You get access to exclusive content, early access perks, unique videos, interactions, and live streams, and so on that you can't find anywhere else except on the SMT Patreon page. Join a community of like-minded individuals and network tech enthusiasts and be a part of the crew. Also, in the description box, we have links to the second channel, Sneed Mobile Tech live streams, where we do post and archive pretty much everything that goes live here on the regular YouTube channel. We archive over there as a catalog. We also have the Twitter handle at Sneed Tech, and then we have the Megadon.net invite code, the social media platform of the future. Never need another social media platform ever again. No algorithms, no ads, and no tracking. Megadon.net. So that takes care of all the things happening in the community. Big shout out to all the SMT supporters, the SMT subscribers and viewers. I welcome you all to today's live streamed podcast. Those of you watching this live, welcome to you. Those watching this on the replay, big shout out to the replay crew. Appreciate you all very, very much, regardless of how you are viewing this. The topic for today's podcast is going to be Dish Network as a wireless provider and what they can do as a disruptor as the new 4th carrier in the United States wireless telecom. The space is highly competitive. There's no doubt about it. I think it would be naive to think it's going to be easy for them to come in and be successful. But I kind of like to lean towards a little bit on the positive side with Dish, because I think they have a lot of potential. There's a lot of flexibility and things they could do that could really benefit them financially, that would motivate them to take this really seriously and not just sell out. I know that's been thrown around and people have speculated on that in the past. I'll speak to that a little bit. I'll talk about all the things that we currently have as information that has been confirmed, things that are absolutely fact and 100% true and confirmed. And then we'll talk a little bit about some predictions and some things that I think are going to occur, things that I think are going to happen. But I always try to separate that. I always give you guys the truth. I tell you what the facts are, everything that's been reported and declared and confirmed. And then I put my spin on it where I take that and I do my own little analysis and what is the most likely outcome, that is going to happen. So I always try to distinguish them, though. I give you my thoughts and my ideas, my conclusions, my take, while also spinning off on the facts, right? What is truth? What is fact? What is happening? For sure. And I try to distinguish and separate those two things, because nobody's perfect. You can have all the great predictions. You could be, have all the insight, and you could be wrong. And I've been wrong plenty of times, and I've been right plenty of times about many things. And it's been documented. Check the receipts, check the videos. A lot of the things that I've said were going to happen did, just based on what was the most likely scenario. I'm going to try to do the same thing with today's video. Look at all the facts, put my spin on it, and see what kind of comes of it as we go through this discussion. So I do see some action in the live chat. It's really good to have you guys. I see T-Mobile info assistant stopped by earlier. Tyreek was also here. Bob is in the house. Bob was just knighted as a mod, so glad to have you here, Bob, and welcome to the moderator crew. Pete's in the house as well, holding it down. Matt Dub, how are you, my friend? Stacy's in the house. I see Baby Yoda. The homie Scoop is here. John is in the house. Two Phone General, my dude. What is up, my dude? Glad you can make it here today. Richard's in the house. EV1 is here. Excuse me. I see Gregory made it. Max as well. Firewolf Tech is here. Glad you could stop by. Joe C. also here today. Let's see if I can get to everybody. in a timely fashion. Darius, good to have you. Yeah, I say everybody T-Mobile Info Assistant. Yeah, everybody gets love here, man. It's all love. This is a positive, supportive community. No negativity, no toxicity. It's all love here. It's all good, you know. Um, I will say that maybe not every community is like this, but I choose to have a community like this, which is why I think some people, they just don't fit with the SMT community. Some people are confrontational. Some people are, uh, they're not tolerant to other people's ideas. They think they know it all. That's just not this type of place. We discuss ideas here. We share our thoughts and opinions, and that's one of the things that I try to do here. Is I always ask for your guys' thoughts and opinions in my videos, and I read everything. I read every comment that people make for the most part. If I get notified, I'll read it. You might get a thumbs up from me. You might get a love comment from me, like a heart. Uh, you might get a reply, that sort of thing. But I do read pretty much everything. Mr. X, my dude, how are you, man? Glad you could be here. Xena made it. Thanks for stopping by, Xena. Billy, good to have you on, sir. I think we got all the oh, and Robert. Couldn't forget about Robert. He's still having his coffee. All right. So, hey, Firewolf Tech, glad you could be a part of the community, man. It's a good place, good people here. All right. So, what I want to do is I want to actually give you guys an update. Some new information, fresh off the press, just came in about Dish Network and Boost Mobile. So, I'll do the update, and then we'll get to everything that I wanted to cover in terms of, Dish and Boost as competitors in postpaid and prepaid. So let's start first with the update. Dish Network CEO, President, and Chairman Charlie Ergen has been doing his best to kind of lay low, and by lay low, I mean keeping all of what's going on behind the scenes with the new carrier with Dish Wireless. He doesn't really like to disclose a lot of things. He doesn't like to put all of his cards on the table, as they say, that analogy. I just want to inform you guys that Charlie Ergen is a big time poker player. So the way he operates on the poker table, I'm assuming, is what spills over into his business operations. And I do hope that my audio and my video is feeding well. You guys let me know if there's any issues there. A lot of people have their concerns, and they have these preconceived notions that maybe he doesn't take it very seriously. Do they have what it takes to actually be successful and truly compete? Because as customers, that's really all we care about. We want a competitive player. Whether or not you choose to do business with Boost or Dish Wireless, whatever it ends up being called, it's not really the important thing. You don't have to be a customer to understand the importance of their place as a telecom amongst the competitors. If they are competitive, it adds a new dynamic to the national providers market, and it could drive pricing down. It could make products better. It could make the feature set more competitive, and that's good for consumers. It creates more value. So, a lot of market pundits, a lot of analysts have their doubts. They question the legitimacy of Dish as a true competitor, as a real, fourth national carrier in United States wireless telecom. And we're starting to actually get some indications that Dish could be leaning on the more positive side. I think there are some things that are going to be indicating that things are better than what some people think. So we want them to be competitive. We want a competitive marketplace. So any good news coming out of Dish, is obviously what we want to hear. So the first thing I want to discuss is what they've been doing with their debt. Pretty much for the most part, Dish has been focused on reducing their debt load, which has stemmed from some really tough quarters in the TV side. So they are the operators of Dish Network, in terms of satellite and TV operations. They also have a streaming service known as Sling. Some of you may be familiar with that. It looks like they've been working to reduce debt. And what that does is, if you reduce your debt, it puts you in a better position to receive financial support from institutions that can give you loans. So say, for example, a company's operational debt like AT&T, they have over $150 billion in debt, which is an absolutely absurd number. I mean, that is incredible. Most companies, if they were operating at a debt of 1/3 of that, would be unable to get any type of financial support in the form of loans and financial relief. It'd be very difficult to do that, i.e., take a look at Sprint. The thing that helps AT&T is the fact that they have a history. They're a long-standing company that likely isn't going anywhere. So it's a little bit different for them. But a company like Dish, who is kind of sort of currently in a dying marketplace, the market has kind of changed for TV. Pay TV has become very difficult. Pay TV viewed as expensive compared to skinny bundling and small packages of, streaming services. A lot of people like the format of the marketplace in which you buy access to certain applications like Disney Plus, like Netflix, like Hulu. And some of the wireless providers offer those services included into their wireless plans. Like, with Hulu TV, you're getting that with some of the plans over there on Sprint, and with, Netflix on us with T-Mobile. And some people have dedicated, streaming services, maybe 3, 4, even 5 applications in which they access their entertainment. So they don't have a true, cable or pay TV provider where it's a premium pricing. Some of those plans exceed $100. I mean, there are some people that scoff at $90 a month for pay TV. There are some people that scoff at $70 a month. So they're probably more willing to pay for 4 or 5 subscription services valued anywhere between $5 and $10 each. And they'd rather do that and be selective about their programming. So in a way, Dish has been forced to pivot to wireless because the market for TV has kind of changed from under their feet. And there's really nothing they could do except try to pivot and get involved in the streaming piece, which they have with Sling. And Sling had amazing growth over the course of the last 5 years. And then it's kind of shifted away as the marketplace has gotten really competitive. More and more streaming services have kind of popped up, and it's just gotten more fierce in competition. So the fact that they were able to reduce their debt load over the course of the last 12 to 13 months is a great sign. The specific number that Charlie Ergen at the quarterly earnings report meeting, during that call, he did say that they reduced their debt by $2.5 billion. Now, it's no coincidence that they need X amount of dollars to complete the purchase of Boost, which is a Sprint prepaid arm, which now becomes part of the new T-Mobile company. So they'll be officially purchasing that here in the next, several weeks. That should come official pretty soon. We're expecting that in the near future. So they've positioned themselves to make that purchase in twofold. One, by paying down their debt and freeing up cash flow. It looks like they have raised $1 billion in equity, and they are consistently able to create and generate growth in their cash flow. All of that done in the last year since they were announced as a piece and component of the T-Mobile and Sprint merger. So everything that they've done up to this point has been positioning for the future in wireless. So when people question what Dish is doing, are they going to be legitimate? Are they really going to try? Are they looking to sell out? All these things. They're legitimate concerns, but all indications up to this point, it's been steps about preparing for the future. Where else are they going to go? The pay TV side isn't going to do it, and they know it. It's almost like a lost cause. But I think they could potentially breathe life into the TV piece, and especially Sling, if they get in on the wireless side. And I'll explain more of that later. I think President and Chairman Charlie Ergen was quoted as saying, the funding part isn't what keeps us up at night when discussing the wireless network part as the, as a postpaid carrier and offering a 5G standalone network. Well, that's an interesting statement. If the funding's not the problem, well, then what is the problem? What is keeping you up at night? And I think it's just the fact that you're going into a wireless market that you've never operated in before. It's uncharted territory. It's uncharted waters, right? They've never been mapped out by Dish. So they've never done wireless telecom. If you guys are enjoying this commentary and enjoying this podcast, please do like this podcast, like this video and share it. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Hit that like button for the SMT. Another thing to consider is now with kind of bringing down the debt and then also being able to generate cash flow, you're looking at a situation where they're going to be able to close out the Boost piece pretty easily and pretty quickly. I think the network build is something that's interesting there. They are currently in the RF planning stage of their 5G network, which is going to be standalone. That means they're not going into the NSA or the non-standalone piece, which is what Verizon has been doing, which is what AT&T has been doing, which is what T-Mobile is currently doing. None of the carriers are building towards standalone in the field technically right now on the commercial side. They're all in testing stages. They're all in the research stages. That's going to take some time. But Dish is at an advantage in that they don't have to build an LTE network and they don't have to build a non-standalone network. They've got one heck of a roaming agreement, or I should say an MVNO agreement with T-Mobile, which gives them instant access, and it doesn't tie them down to have to build out something that they're going to have to decommission and refarm later. So big shout out to Jamie Daily Sports, my dude. What's up, Caleb? Good to have you on. I see you guys there. Court B, good to see you here as well. Rohan, glad you guys could stop by. I see you all. Sebby's in the house. Good to have you guys. Another thing I would add is ongoing what's happening right now with, and what's going on with the network piece. For the most part, the Sprint and T-Mobile piece, they've already kind of mostly shut down and decommed the sites that they're no longer going to be used that they see as redundant. So sites that overlap between T-Mobile and Sprint that they don't require any longer, they've already decommissioned those sites. I think it's almost 80% complete for the decommissioning. And if that's the case, that means as soon as the Boost deal closes, which could be any time between now and like June or July, probably, right? It should be just within a few weeks here. That means Dish can begin negotiations and dealings with T-Mobile on those sites. Hey, what sites do you want? What sites do you want to purchase? Which ones are you going to operate? They can start deploying spectrum if they want to. They could support their own network. They could support access for prepaid. They could support access they could lease, right? They could do so many different things with this. I think what's interesting about how the network is going to kind of go here, and Caleb could probably speak to this even better than I can, is the fact that anytime networks are being built out, it's on a city-by-city basis. So while the decommissioning and the purchase of the redundant towers from Sprint and T-Mobile, those can be operated instantly. But they would probably take those sites and begin to build out from those sites a plan of how the network will operate city by city and market by market. And I think, trial services potentially could start by the end of the year. I don't think people understand how quick Dish can actually operate. Dish is not at the same disservice that Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile have been for the last couple of decades. They've had to start with brand new infrastructure. They've had to start with brand new hardware. They had to go through 4 evolutions of network technology. Dish doesn't have that disadvantage. Dish is going to have pre-existing sites that they can access. They have spectrum that could be deployed on sites and towers right now with switches of just flips of switches. Like stuff can be turned on and leased and they can generate revenue and so on. They could generate millions in revenue annually just on lease deals. Alone just with T-Mobile probably for 600 megahertz. I mean, they've got AWS going out to AT&T and Verizon. I mean, they could generate tons of money. Big John Tech Reviews, what is up, my dude? Good to have you. Glad I could stop by. Teletech, I see you there. Thank you for that. Stopping by. Good to have you as well. I feel like Charlie Ergen is, I don't want to say a position of power, but they're at a position that other carriers have not been in the past, and that they don't have to start from the ground, right? They're kind of, they've seen the growing pains and the beginning and the humble starts and the foundations of LTE, which came from 3G, which came from 2G. All that's done and out of the way. We're now in an era where it's LTE probably for another decade as the backbone of networks, and then 5G that's really going to be carrying the mail for all the newer applications. So something that I thought was interesting from Charlie Ergen, he stated, he compared Dish's future 5G network as a Netflix compared to the old school networks as Blockbuster. For those of you that are familiar with Blockbuster Video, it was a video store where you went and got VHSs, you rented movies, you rented video games, you went into the store, you would get yourself a couple videos or a couple games, right? But you always had to go to the store. Netflix is an application, a studio where they deliver the content to your handheld and to apps on your TV, and it's like everything comes to you. So he's saying that they're essentially going to be building a modern, you know, more advanced, more flexible, more built to scale and so on, compared to all the other networks. And it's possible he could do that. I think there are some questions about it, but I mean, it does seem pretty amazing to say that the network will be more flexible than Verizon's or AT&T's or T-Mobile's. That would be pretty cool if it was more flexible, right? In terms of accessing network components and slices for certain applications, IoT versus handhelds and things like that, and enterprise. I think they can get into a lot of those segments. The fact that it could be easily scaled, which means as the company grows, as their market share increases, as their business opportunities expand, they can the network can grow with them as their needs are requiring. And I think also you think about a third party investor. Once people start to see what, Dish can do, I think more investors get involved. Some I mean, who knows? I don't want to know. I don't know if it's going to be Comcast or Charter or whatever, but I think a cable company would be intrigued to get involved. It could open up some avenues for them. I also think that, some other big players can get involved. Talks indicate that Google's involved. Talks indicate that Amazon is involved. There's a lot that they could do, and I think Charlie Ergen's gonna, he's gonna play his hand. The one thing that's interesting about the network and what they're going to build as a 5G network through this virtualized core and things of that nature is that the model that they plan on using, which is being provided by a company called Mavenir, they are saying that their approach will cost 35 to 50% less to build compared to a standard network. And also, they're saying that it's going to have a lower cost of operation compared to other, we'll call them conventional networks. So if that is indeed the case, their profits could be soon to come at a much quicker and more rapid pace than, say, the traditional carriers. So, maybe it might take them 5 years. Maybe it takes them 10 years down the road to finally turn a profit. I just feel like there's a lot of positivity coming at a Dish that some people aren't really seeing. I mean, there's Moffett investors and all these other people, these analysts. I mean, Caleb's been on. We've talked about it. He's an engineer. I don't want to poo-poo his opinion, not at all. I respect his opinion very much. I'm just saying I think there are some positive things there. To doubt Charlie Ergen is one thing, but to look at the business model, I mean, there's a lot of potential there. So, as a Boost Mobile update to what is going on, Boost Mobile update here for the network side. The transition from the Sprint network is ongoing. What's going to be called the T-Mobile network that they're accessing, they're going to be calling the XP network. It looks like the grand scale launch is going to be delayed slightly. Not too long, actually. Currently, there are trial markets, and the trials are showing some issues. They have identified some concerns. One of them being that in the trial markets, they're identifying system flaws that involve rate plans and device firmware, with some Android devices and phones not being identified in the system. Looks like they're going to be trying to iron out those details, so they are pushing the XP network launch, and it's estimated to be at about a 1 week delay. Not a big deal, not a big delay. 1 week, that's nothing. and to be honest with you, I think there are a lot of people, 1 week after looking at what this merger was with T-Mobile and Sprint taking over 2 years, 1 week is like 2 drops in a bucket. So that's kind of like your Boost update there. So for those of you that are not aware with what's going on with the Boost network and how they're going to be getting access to T-Mobile, we currently have, a handful of selected markets that are getting trial access for the new Boost Mobile XP network, which is going to be running through T-Mobile. And those markets are Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Kansas City, Los Angeles, New York City, Phoenix, and Washington, D.C. And the devices that are going to be operating through all of that is going to be the S20 line, and that's going to give you access to anything considered 5G and so on. Okay, so I look at the plans that's going to require, the $50 plan and the $60 plan. I look at the cost of the devices. It's going to be difficult to sell people on that, especially on a prepaid carrier. But you never know. Some people, they like what Boost offers. They like what Metro offers, and if they're willing to finance those phones that way, it's fine. You know, um, Interesting there. They are going to be kind of rolling with the plans as they are. Nothing as a major overhaul yet, but that could be changing in June and July, no later than August. So we'll have to see what happens there. One of the things that I wanted to speak to in discussing what Dish is doing, because it's not just about Boost. Remember, they are going to be running a postpaid operation. So um, I just kind of want to touch on a couple of things. I know there's 80 of you in the live. I'm very happy that you guys could stop by. Usually my live streams are later in the evening, but I felt a lot of positive energy. I felt like I had a lot to get out and discuss with you guys. So I wanted to do this early. And so I thought I'd do it. But, you know, um, one of the things I wanted to mention was this deal with Mavenir that Dish has and how they're going to be building out this virtual network. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Mavenir, Mavenir is basically going to be building a virtualized type of core for what Dish is going to be doing on the postpaid side when they build their standalone 5G network. It's not unprecedented. What Charlie Ergen wants to do with the postpaid network has been done before. And it's not something that is unprecedented. It's unprecedented here in the US. It has not been done really here on scale. But it's been done in Japan, and it's been done in India, and it's been done in a lot of Asian markets. So for those of you that are familiar with the company Rakuten also runs and operates a virtualized network in Japan in which they serve both LTE and 5G technologies. And yes, we are talking about standalone services. We are talking about non-standalone services. Most of their focuses have been on mid-band for 5G. They have started to deploy, from what I understand, Pete sources indicate a 29 gigahertz millimeter wave application. So it looks like companies like Rakuten and other providers, they've been doing these types of networks, and it's been shown to work, and it's a proven concept over the course of the last few years. So as technologies improve and as networks start to pivot in different directions and how they operate, I think it's kind of cool what Dish is doing with a virtualized core. I think it's amazing. The fact that they have a 7-year roaming agreement on the T-Mobile network offers them some leeway. It also provides them with the opportunity to focus on a build of a 5G network instead of worrying about LTE. So they've got, I don't know, probably about 120 to 130 megahertz of national spectrum. They could deploy it all for 5G. They could lease some of it and deploy most of it for 5G. There's so many different things they could do. But they do have a 100% full access to the new T-Mobile network, which basically means no deprio for their customers, no throttle, unfettered access to the new T-Mobile network. The more capacitive, the better integrated the T-Mobile network gets, the better access that Dish and Boost Mobile customers get. So I've said time and time again, the most important thing for Boost customers at this point is to see that the T-Mobile network improves so their access improves. Obviously, the coverage is likely better just by switching from Boost Mobile's native network on Sprint over to the T-Mobile side. The national piece gets better, but I think the capacity piece is going to be changing quite a bit in the future, and that's a good sign. Say goodbye to the deprio, say goodbye to the throttling, say goodbye to the video resolution restrictions. A lot of that can change moving forward. I mean, instantaneously, Boost customers automatically now have voice over LTE, which they never had, right? Boost Mobile was never able to afford that to their customers because of the Sprint side, right, with the limitations of their network. So that MVNO agreement is going to be huge. Not only will Dish customers access postpaid access on T-Mobile, not only will Boost customers have that same access as well, but there's nothing that could restrict Dish from reselling access as an MVNO on a separate company to other smaller carriers, T-Mobile access, which I'm going to say what T-Mobile has done with MVNOs, their own personal MVNOs. They've pretty much voided every contract. They've terminated almost every deal that they've had with different carriers and authorized dealers and so on. And I think the reason they're doing that is because they assume that this is going to be happening. I really do think that. I think Dish is going to be reselling quite a bit on the T-Mobile side. So they'll have MVNO deals that'll generate them money. Not huge money, but it's still revenue, which is going to be used to build out their network for their 5G standalone. I also think, that they'll be able to take advantage of some promos and network access that Boost is going to be elite. Things that Boost can offer that no other, companies can do. I think in a lot of cases, there's a lot of room for them to do some lease agreements. They could lease spectrum to Verizon in the form of that AWS. They could continue that. I don't know when that, becomes a viable option full term. The same thing with AT&T and the same thing with T-Mobile as they continue to integrate their network, or sell it completely. Get away from the low band stuff, keep your access through T-Mobile and just focus on mid band. I think, the TV application seems really interesting. Think about the TV piece here. Basically, Dish's TV side is on life support. They lost, I want to say, like 400,000 subscribers last quarter in TV. The problem is that it's not that Dish Network's TV service is bad. It's not even that it's really expensive. But like I've said before, the market has changed from under their feet. It's almost like anybody who sells premium pay TV is paying the cost. AT&T numbers are down. They've been hemorrhaging customers for quarters and quarters and quarters. Same thing for Fios. Same thing for Charter and Comcast. The traditional pay TV and cable operation is it's not there. The market is not there. The profitability is really good, but the market's not there anymore. Everybody's moved towards streaming. Everybody's moved towards standalone apps where they can choose and pick what type of programming and entertainment they want to watch. Some people are, buying services in the form of these skinny bundles, right? So they've got, a nice little, package from Hulu Live or YouTube TV, or in the case of like, Hulu Live, YouTube TV, Sling. I mean, there's so many options, right? Pluto TV, just no cost, right? So is this an opportunity where Dish could be smart and actually reinvigorate their TV platform, tie it in with their wireless service, offer people a bundle that saves them money on programming and wireless? So in a way, you can use the new business to bring life into your old business. So that way it doesn't, end up as just a loss that you file bankruptcy on, because you can't sell a dying business. Nobody wants that. It doesn't matter how good of a deal you give them, So it's one of those things where I think if they were smart, they would try to find a way to reinvigorate Sling, to reinvigorate Dish as TV side into their wireless. I think that would be really smart. They could definitely do it and should definitely do it in postpaid. I think where they can make a killing, and I think it would be brilliant, and I really do hope they do something like this. If they could build a small amount of TV access on all prepaid accounts for Boost Mobile, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely disruptive. Think about this. There are certain customers who are on, like a 5 for 100 deal on Boost Mobile. And that's really, really cheap, but it's not very profitable for Boost. What if we could try to encourage them to get out of those plans and into a new plan where you're getting 5 lines for $130 and you get an account of TV access for Sling of up to 10 channels? Now, those 10 channels, they could pick from, say, like, a body of 40 or 50 channels. You pick 10. Those are the channels you have access to. And then that adds value into the proposition of the wireless piece. No prepaid carrier has really done anything like that up to this point. I think that would be a great idea. Offer a really, really small amount of TV access, nothing crazy, 5 to 10 channels, but it's a la carte. They get to pick from a lineup of channels and they get access to it. They could change access to those channels every month if they wanted to. So they can go back to that list and say, okay, I want to take out ESPN, I want to add Hallmark, or I want to take out Telemundo, and I want to add, CNN or something. I don't know. However they have that structured, that's really up to them. But I'm telling you, I think that would be not only unique, but I think it would be game changing in the fact that nobody has done that at all from prepaid. I mean, I feel for sure they should do it in postpaid. I mean, I almost feel like that's a must because in postpaid you're fighting Verizon and you're fighting AT&T and you're fighting T-Mobile. Verizon's going to have a deal with Pluto. Verizon has a deal with Disney Plus. Verizon has Fios. AT&T has AT&T TV Now. They have DirecTV, right? That they're trying to resurrect and make money on. They've got, what's the other thing they're doing? HBO Max. They've got a TV side, media side focus. Look at what T-Mobile's got. They've got Netflix on us. They also have the Quibi deal, right, where they're giving people access to that. And, they're probably going to be looking into other things too for digital media as they're building out their 5G network and providing new access. So to me, if Dish doesn't pivot in that direction they already have assets in TV and media, those relationships, those deals, they should exploit that. So I just feel like this is the perfect opportunity to do it. And then you're also going to be building out this 5G standalone network. This is going to be your service focus. You don't have to worry about LTE because of that. That network agreement, that MVNO agreement with T-Mobile. You can not worry about that. Just worry about standalone 5G. And I would also be worried about reinfusing new elements to the TV side with your wireless service. I think once they start doing this, you're going to start to see some investors getting involved. They've got to see some progress, though. They've got to see market share starting to swing. They've got to see Dish building out that standalone 5G network, the proof of concept with the virtual network with Mavenir, right? Kind of with that Rakuten type of approach. I would bet that enterprise is probably a real option for Dish as well. In the case of IoT, in the case of network slices that could be accessed by enterprise and business. I think the investors come once they start to see this. So I think they can exploit, a handful of things. They can exploit their TV. They can exploit prepaid. They can exploit MVNO, Sling. They can exploit enterprise and business, 5G standalone. They could be trailblazers in those ways. So the question is, and this is the bottom line as to everything I've talked about up to this point, will Dish compete? In my opinion, the answer is yes, they will compete. If you want to take it one step further, are they ever going to be as big as Verizon? Are they ever going to be as big as AT&T or even the new T-Mobile? No way, no how. Dish Network as a wireless service provider will never be as big as Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. But that's not what they have to do. That really shouldn't even be their goal. Their goal should be to compete, to gain market share steadily through organic growth, utilizing their assets in TV and all of the enterprise and all of the 5G and all of the TV components, and then use those synergies to make money, to make profit, to bring investors to the table, shareholders that want to invest in the company's future. Think about it. Would you be surprised if Dish Network within the first 2 or 3 years of operations had 30 million subscribers? I wouldn't be surprised if they had 30 million. Heck, within 5 years, I wouldn't be surprised if they had 50 million subscribers. But at that point, where is the growth going to come from? You might take a little bit from Verizon. You might take a little bit from AT&T. You never know. You might take a little from T-Mobile. I don't know. 5 years from now, guys, we can't even really have true conversations about 6 months from now. We don't really know what's going to happen. But if I'm predicting 5 years from now, could Dish Network as a wireless service provider, postpaid, prepaid, and all their enterprise operations and Sling and all of that and Dish TV, could they have 50 million subs? Absolutely. They sure could. It really just depends on a couple of things. How good are their products? How efficient is their operations? That's really what it is. The goal is not to be bigger than Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile. The goal is to compete, right? And Their network capacity has the potential to be second to none. They could run two networks simultaneously. They could run a network through T-Mobile for 7 years. In fact, for the first 4 years, they're running full throttle 100%. So whatever T-Mobile has going on 3 years from now, fully integrated T-Mobile and Sprint assets 2.5, 600 megahertz better be done by then. The 2.5 better be done by then. That network is going to be probably one of the most highly capacitive networks. You can make an argument that Verizon might with C-band and AT&T might with C-band. I can't really speak to that. But I know based on holdings, if Neville Ray does it right, which we're hoping, we pray and hope, that the integration process goes through okay. I think it could be like top notch, in terms of capacity. Dish Network's going to have that full access for 4 years. And then it's going to reduce in percentage over the course of the next 3 years on that deal. So they'll go from like 100% to 90% to 80%, however it plays out. I think it goes down to 70% access or something like that. But they can leverage that. And I'm going to remind you again, Charlie Ergen is one of the wealthiest men in the United States of America. I'm going to repeat that again. The chairman and president of Dish Network is one of the wealthiest men in America. He's like top 50. Multi-billionaire. Big money. He's already done a huge buyback of stocks from shareholders. He's all in. Like I said before, I don't think, things like Caleb has his doubts. Caleb's a credible source here on the channel, a voice of reason at times. He wants to win. He wants to make money, and he can in this business venture. They had to pivot away from the traditional TV side. They ended up in wireless because they own all the spectrum. If not, they were going to lose it to the FCC. So now it all makes sense. They were going to run an IoT network. Well, now they can get in as a full national player, which improves their scale and thus should increase their revenue potential. So, this podcast, this live stream was only designed to be about a 30-minute or so summary of where Dish Network is right now, where it's probably going, and what they can do to disrupt the marketplace. I like the potential of Dish. I think they have a lot of opportunities in postpaid and prepaid, as well as exploiting their TV side. We're now starting to see kind of their vision. We're just now starting to see it with Mavenir, with the 5G standalone, with their positioning with TV. Yeah, you could say that Dish Network is kind of desperate when it comes to TV. But what I've learned in my time on this planet is innovation comes from desperation. When things are down and you have to do something, that's when people usually step up. Dish Network has to do something. It's no longer we could just rely on Dish Network TV. No, that market is gone. They've been hemorrhaging customers for a while. They had to pivot. And they do have resources and they do have assets. And they've been set up nicely to do it. So that's my take. That's my opinion. Those are some ideas that I'm kind of throwing out to you guys for you to kind of think about and discuss. I'm more positive on Dish than I think a lot of people are. I just feel like it's easy to poo-poo a company that's new to wireless, but it's not new to success. That Dish Network has been successful, right? And it's to me, I see a lot of potential. I think they could do some great things. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you all to those who watched this in the live stream. Many thanks to you for watching it. And I appreciate it if you could go ahead and hit that like button and share it to your favorite social media platforms like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and so on, and YouTube. That would be amazing. Thank you guys so much in advance for that. If you are new, maybe this is your first time here, by all means, you want to hang around and become a member of the SMT community, hit the subscribe button and also activate that bell notification icon so you never miss any uploads from the SMT, including podcasts and live streams like this. And I think what we'll do for today is with all of this positivity, and those of you that are real ones and you've been watching this the whole way through, let's go ahead and hashtag Dish Wireless. Regardless of what happens, who knows? We don't know. I just feel like I see the positivity, and I think there's going to be a lot of good coming out of this. So hashtag Dish Wireless. Thank you guys for watching. On behalf of the SMT Nation, I'm the SMT, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.